Hey guys, Kira here, and I'm recording this after the video because I forgot to do it before, but 65% of you aren't subscribed, so if you like the video, remember subscribe. If you think you're subscribed and you aren't, check it out again because everything really helps, and I really love to see you guys do that. Oh, and also when I get to 100, I'll probably do one of those like analysis that I was mentioning before, where I like transfer one of my old analysis onto YouTube. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the video. Hey guys, Kira here, and this time you already saw the title. It's a Beastars review, which is gonna be spoiler free as usual. But yeah, anyways, y'all know how these work. I'm gonna talk about the story, the characters, everything, and then I'm gonna talk about other stuff that isn't as big later on. I'm gonna try to give each one of them a rating if I remember. But yeah, so let's get straight to it. The story for Beastars is something I really like. It's a really unique one. With a great setting too. I'd probably give it like an 8. The way it goes from focusing on individual characters to more on like it encompasses the society as a whole is like a very great and fluid transition when it comes to the scale of the story. And it's a very entertaining like story throughout, especially because there aren't really many anime or manga that are like it. The only really series I can really think about that has a story like that is Zootopia. And I haven't even seen Zootopia. But the series as a whole, with every single arc, is honestly very entertaining. There are some that are like clearly better than others, which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, they're all, it's a very consistently good series. The only thing I can't really complain about the story is, especially later on in the series, sometimes they'll introduce like certain characters or plot points that really never in their whole like existence felt very important. One example of that is like the whale later on. I really felt like zero importance to the addition of the whale. They could have really left it out and I wouldn't really have felt a difference in the story. I could be wrong though. Let me know down below if you think otherwise. The whale, there's another one I'm talking about, which is a certain character's dad, which I don't want to mention because I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. Which really felt kind of irrelevant. Not relevant, but like he shows up and I don't really think he adds anything to the story. And I don't mind if they like have certain like a whole chapter, for example, dedicated to something that really doesn't matter to the story. An example of that is like the shock egg with Bill and the other characters. That was an interesting, a fun chapter, right? And it also have like a little nice detail to it. But it was still entertaining, and I don't know, it was fun to read, but I don't think the whale and stuff like that was really had any importance to it at all. But as for the arcs, right, pretty sudden transition, but come with me here. The first arc was good. It didn't have anything special or out of the ordinary. Don't get me wrong though, it's a good arc. It's just, it didn't really peak anywhere, and it was still pretty decent. Unless you consider it like the murder incident solution. I don't. I consider them different arcs, but that's just me. As for Murder Incident Solution, it's a good arc too. I don't think it's in my top 10. It could be, I'd have to think about it. But it's definitely in my top 10 for new gens. Maybe if it's not top 10, it's like top 12. I'd have to really give a think about that because I don't really think about like arcs in that way a lot. But I honestly like the last arc more than I did Murder Incident Solution or any of the other arcs, which is probably an unpopular opinion. But I found it a lot more interesting with a better antagonist. It helped a lot more with the storytelling and the world building, and everything about the arc just felt more entertaining. It had a higher peaks near the end, right? It was still consistently good, and in my opinion, it was consistently better than Murder Incident Solution. But it also had much higher peaks than Murder Incident Solution, right? I think the only time I really found Murder Incident Solution to be better than it was before was in the final confrontation, right? And with the leg scene, which I'm not gonna say because even mentioning anything about it is a spoiler. But yeah, like the final confrontation, it was good actually. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not trying to slander Beastars or anything. It's a solid, like the whole of Murder Incident Solution is a solid 8 in my opinion. It's just from start to finish, just like it's a very consistent 8. It never like goes above that, never goes below that, which can be good for some people. But I'd rather have one arc that is like slow at the start, for example, and then really picks up at the end and is like, let's say, goes from a 6 to a 9, than an arc that's just a consistent 8 throughout its whole existence, right? I don't know. That's just personally me. I will most likely have the 6 to a 9 arc higher than the consistent 8 arc. And that's just for most series in general, right? I don't mind a slow start as long as it like picks up a lot more. I personally can't really enjoy it. You can't really enjoy media if it's all like the same quality. You have to have the bad shows to be able to enjoy the good shows, if you know what I mean. And as for like the 3 arcs in the series, I give like the first one probably like a 7. Probably it's a good arc, but I didn't really find it anything out of the ordinary. It didn't really excel in anything. Same with Murder Incident Solution, except the leg scene. But I'd give it an 8 for sure. And the last arc, I'd give the last arc a 9 for the reasons I mentioned before. And yeah, it's just a really good arc, man. I don't know. Is it top 10? I don't know. I'd have to make a whole list about it. I don't think it is top 10. Really would have to think about it. I'll probably confirm it later on in the video, but yeah. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to mention for the story. A solid 8.5. Very good story. Very unique, which is something I really like to see. It's not like a unique set. Everything about the story is very unique about it. But yeah, so let's get straight into the characters. So as for the characters, I really can't decide who my top 2 characters are. It's probably between Legoshi and Melon. Gosha is honestly pretty entertaining throughout, right? He has some cool scenes, but he isn't really anything out of the extraordinary. Melon and Legoshi are honestly great. I don't know if I have them tied. One's probably better than the other. If anything, I think Melon I like more than Legoshi. Even though I do think Melon isn't like a top 2 or top 3 character in the selection he'd be in. I'm not gonna say protagonist, side character, or anything like that. He's still I don't know. I saw a lot of people put him top 2 or top 3, and I honestly wouldn't have him there. I definitely have him probably top 5, but that's just an opinion, right? That's probably from the series I read already and stuff like that. He's still a solid 9 out of 10 character. He's a really good character, great, and he's solid throughout in almost everything except his backstory, which is honestly pretty questionable. As for Legoshi, his character is honestly underrated. I know I just said Melon's kind of overrated and Legoshi's underrated, but I don't know if I want to say he's underrated or he's just not talked about enough when it comes to really good protagonists. But the way Legoshi handles the whole, not discrimination I guess, but it's unfair treatment of carnivores and his love for herbivores and all that is really good, and it's the main driving force behind the series. And although it might be a bit unrealistic, his role in the world, I guess, I honestly don't mind it, because another series with a less good author would have made it a lot more ridiculous on his impact in the world, quote unquote. They would have made him change the whole world because of him showing up at a turf war, which is a good thing he didn't, right? I'm not trying to say he shouldn't have an effect. He probably did have an effect. Just that it shouldn't be this random teenager changes the whole world, even though he's not a Beastar or anything. Now, is it still weird what a teenager did in a turf war between gangs and what he accomplished? Yes, but it's a manga, so I'm not really gonna complain too much about unrealistic or anything like that. I'm just saying it'd be ridiculous if he actually changed the world that way. But to go to other characters, Luis is a good character too. At the start, I couldn't tell if I liked him more or Legoshi, but as the series went on, I definitely liked Legoshi more. And I don't really think there are many other characters I generally find on that tier level. I can't really think of many. I don't want to say there aren't, because when I made the Tokyo Ghoul video, I was definitely forgetting some important characters that were really good, but I can't really think of any. I mean, the Beastar guy was pretty cool, but that's basically all I can think about when it comes to good characters. Him and the Shishigumi, but that's basically it. And even then, the Shishigumi aren't really that good individually, in my opinion. They're more good because of their group and their whole chemistry. But yeah, I think the last time I struggled to find who I liked more between 2 or more characters in a series was probably, to the best of my recollection, I think it was Magi. And it's been a while, right, since I read Magi. Because at least, I'm not saying it's as good of a cast as Magi, right? In my opinion, Magi has, 5 characters that could compete for top 1, where Beastars has, 1 or 2 near the end. But it's still a good cast, and I still like the fact that, you can't really decide, or that I'm kind of struggling to decide who I like more. And it's in a good way, where I'm not saying, oh, there aren't enough good characters to consider the series to have a good cast. No, I'm just saying that there aren't as many individual characters that are as great as the top 2 or the top 3 characters in there, because there are other characters, right, that serve their purpose great when it comes to like their thematic importance. But aside from their thematic importance or whatever like small role they play, which they do play, they might play well, I don't really feel like they do much else in the series. Legoshi, he's great. Melon is great in every aspect. They're a great contrast. And I think because of those two alone, I'd probably give the cast in this series like a solid 8. I was gonna give it a 9, but I definitely don't think the quality of characters is really good enough to give it a 9. Right? If it wasn't for that, I'd probably give it a 9. It does have 2 9 out of 10 characters, but most of the other characters in the series, I wouldn't give a 9. So for that same reason, I'll probably give it like an 8, because that's probably what it would all average out to. And I think that's a fair rating for my personal taste in the series. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say for the characters. Now on to literally everything else. But as for literally everything else, the main 2 things I want to talk about are the world building, which in part has to do with the themes, and the art, which I'm going to start with the art because it's my least favorite of the 2. The art is honestly pretty good, and for the most part. Like some individual panels might not be the best, but the action scenes have some pretty decent choreography, I guess would be the word. The like facial expressions in either comedic like ways, like for chibi or whatever comedic joke he's trying to do, are especially funny. I really like those. I like it for most manga, but some manga really don't do it that well. Or I guess a better way of saying it would be some mangas do it good, some mangas do it a lot better. Beastars definitely does it better, has some good comedy. And the facial expressions in literally any other scene are great. You can probably tell what's going on in the scene without even looking at the dialogue, just like purely facial expressions, which is something that not a lot of series can do. I'll even admit, Magi probably can't even do that. Magi's one of my favorite series. And that's probably it I have to say for the art. It has some good panels. My favorite panel is probably Legoshi showing up to the turf war, but besides that, probably the only other panel I really like, right, from at least where I started reading to the end, is with Gosha saying like peace only works when the strong uphold or something like that. I'll have it on screen somewhere throughout the video. You'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, those 2 are probably my top 2 favorite panels. There are other good panels, but I don't think the series has a lot of panels where you can like show it to someone and they'll be like astonished to how good it is, but it's like compared to with some other series. But it still has like some good widespreads. The art is just very consistently good. I'd probably give like the art in total like a 7. My favorite part about it is easily like the comedic expressions and stuff like that. That's honestly really done well. And the site I used also like would have edits at the end of some chat, like especially near the end, they would like have like a page or 2 of just purely them changing text or certain things about like certain pages just for purely comedic effect, and it was honestly pretty funny a lot of the time. But yeah, honestly, art I give a 7. Now as for the world building. So when it comes to the world building in Beastars, it's probably one of my favorite parts of the series, as I said before, it's a very unique world, right? And the way like animal society like brings it all in, all with like the themes of like herbivores versus carnivores. I guess there isn't really a theme, but you know what I mean. And the history of the world too, like the lore of the world, is honestly very good. I already mentioned one of my like complaints with it earlier, but apart from that, it's a very like good world. It makes sense, right? And there's also like very good, not like, I guess it's like very good like little touches that the author adds on to the world to make it a bit more realistic. Like with that whole like beast strike thing where every animal has their own little like paradise kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it, right? But like they all have their own special little spot for their own like species, and the way like herbivores are like hating on carnivores 24/7, and the way carnivores just have to deal with it, and then you like get to see more into how carnivores are and how it's not really their fault, which makes sense. and the whole back alley market. Everything about this, like the world, is really good. The only thing I don't know, or like, cause I kind of at least could have mentioned, I guess, is if there's other like cities to that world, or like other nations, as it's very like heavily dense world on just that, right? Kind of like the Attack on Titan world in the beginning, where it's more focused on like the density of that one city or place instead of focusing like on every spot, right? Which isn't a complaint. It's just, I wish we would have known if there was something outside of just that city or place that they lived in. Because they do mention the whole like the sea, which I think the author definitely would have like touched on it more had they not been rushed. Because I'm assuming they were rushed, or maybe they weren't rushed, but I guess they also might have felt that like if they did make a whole new arc after that last arc about the sea, then it probably would have been dragged out. And I agree. The sea got its own little mention, and it really just kind of dipped after, which I'm not complaining about because it makes sense why it didn't really get mentioned. But it'd be nice if there was like a side story where it touches on the sea a little bit. But yeah, with all that, I'd probably give the world building like a 9 or 9.5. It's a great world. One of my favorite instances of world building. As I've read 2 series with really good world building lately, Orient and Beastars. I don't think Beastars has the much better world between Orient and Beastars, and by a long shot, but they're still pretty good. But yeah, that's basically all I want to talk about for the video. Is Beastars in my top 10? Maybe, probably not, because I've also read a lot of other series I enjoy more than Beastars. But it's definitely around 10. I definitely have it above some series that are like very critically acclaimed. It's just that I have other series that are also critically acclaimed that I enjoy a lot more. But yeah, that's all I want to mention for the video. As for like a summary, I guess, probably Legoshi and Melon are my top 2 favorite characters. The final arc is my favorite arc. Legoshi versus Melon is probably my favorite fight. My only complaints with the series would be unnecessary, like story plots that are trying to be important but really aren't. My only other like positives is basically everything else. I didn't mention the themes too much because really the only theme I really would have mentioned would have been discrimination, and I've already mentioned that theme before. It's still a good little thing, but I really say it's discrimination. But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to mention for the video. Let me know what you thought down below. Remember to leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and peace.